Today was a fairy tale. Epilogue. Mary Rouge. Summary. This is the epilogue to my Theon's story. Today was a fairy tale. Disclaimer, I do not own Game of Thrones or its characters. They belong to GRM. Notes. Hi guys. I did some editing and decided to post the epilogue to Today Was a Fairy Tale separately so people who read this and my Rob and Rosalind story, A Bride for a Bridge in chronological order and avoid spoilers. I think I took out all Rob/Rosalind major spoilers, but it's possible I left a couple. I did edit it and add some new text, so if you've read it before you can read it again if you want. Also, when I finish my Rob and Rosalind story, I am thinking of writing more Theon's. Would people be more interested in a sequel to Today Was a Fairy Tale? Or an entirely new Theon's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Have a great day. See the end of the work for more notes. Chapter 1, Epilogue. Chapter text. Her first pregnancy was the hardest. She was sick all the time and none of the tonics Maester Tybalt gave her seemed to work. Theon would be busy during the day, and so he could only tend to her at night. He was a very attentive husband through it all. Always asking her if she was hungry or comfortable, and if there was anything he could do to make her feel better. He would rub her feet or hold her hair back if she was feeling sick. Sansa had wanted Rosalind to come to help aid her during the birth, but Rosalind was newly postpartum, and therefore couldn't make the journey. With no other sister to turn to, Sansa had asked Theon to see if Asha would help aid her during the birth. Asha had been staying with them at the Dread Fort for a little while anyway, before heading back to the Iron Islands. "Are you sure?" Theon had asked. Asha's not exactly the most supportive or sympathetic towards someone when they're in pain. "I know," Sansa had replied. "But I think she would appreciate us asking her. And I would like to have some family here for the birth." So Theon had asked his sister to be here for the last month of his wife's pregnancy. Asha had agreed, and stayed until a week after Sansa had given birth. Unlike the pregnancy, the labor had been easy, and after only 2 hours, Sansa held her new baby daughter in her arms. She had Sansa's red hair but Theon's sea-green eyes, and Sansa had thought she couldn't be more beautiful. She told Theon as much. "She's as pretty as her mother," was Theon's reply. "What's her name?" Asha asked, looking down at her niece. "Katniss," Sansa says. Asha punches Theon in the arm. "Oh!" Theon yelps. "You named your daughter after a swamp potato." Asha berates. "No." "Well then what's she named after then?" "The flower, not the potato," Sansa supplies. Asha makes a face. "And also our mothers," Theon tells her. "Cat for Caitlin, and Nis for Alanis." "Oh," Asha says. "I guess that's not so bad. And in any case, it's your baby." Asha had meant it as a jab, but both Theon and Sansa smiled when she said this, looking down at the tiny bundle asleep in Sansa's arms. Her second pregnancy was much easier. She wasn't as sick this time around, really only during the first trimester, and she was able to do much more, without being confined to her bed. Rosalind came this time around to help her deliver. As she held her newborn son in her arms, the future heir to the Dread Fort, Sansa couldn't be more content. He looked just like his father. The same sandy brown hair and sea-green eyes. Sansa thought he was the most handsome baby in the north. "Perhaps it's time to meet his older sister?" Rosalind asks. "I can go grab her," Theon says, about to get up from where he was sitting next to Sansa and the baby. "Nonsense. You two stay here. I'll be right back." Minutes later, Rosalind returns, carrying little Cat in her arms. Cat reaches her arms out towards her mother the moment she sees her, giggling and squirming excitedly, so Sansa hands the baby over to Theon and takes Katniss from Rosalind. "This is Rob," she tells her daughter. "He's your little brother." Katniss claps excitedly, still too young to be speaking too much. "Like Uncle Ob," she coos. "Yes sweetie, just like your uncle." When Sansa is due her third time around, she's well practiced enough that she doesn't send for one of her good sisters. She's in the nursery playing with 4-year-old Katniss and 2-year-old Rob when she feels the labor pains come. She sends for Maester Tybalt and Theon, and leaves the children with the scepter. Maester Tybalt has just finished checking on her when Theon comes sprinting in the room. "Did I miss it?" he asks out of breath as he rushes to Sangza's side. Labor's only just begun, Tybalt said. She's got another few hours at least. But I thought you said labor gets quicker each time. Theon asks, confused. Generally, yes, but this babe appears to be taking its time. Sure enough, it was Sangza's longest labor to date. Lasting 36 excruciating hours long. But when it's over, she holds another perfect baby boy in her arms. A little tully baby with red hair and blue eyes. She names him Brandon, after her little brother who went missing and never returned home. Theon overestimates how long labor will last the fourth time, and ends up missing the birth entirely. He was in a meeting when he was alerted that Sangza was in labor, but knowing how long it took last time, he figured he would finish what he was doing first. He arrived at their chamber not half an hour later to see that Sangza was already holding a squirming bundle in her arms. Blue eyes and dark hair the same color as Arya's. I think this one should be Asher, she tells him. At this rate I don't know if we'll have another girl, and your sister's been hounding me that we've yet to name one for her. Theon is distraught that he missed the birth, but Sangza assures him that it's fine. It was her easiest labor, the most pain-free, and she's glad that it's now over. She does tease him constantly for missing it though. Theon takes great precaution to be there the next time she gives birth barely a year later. Another little girl after all these years. Like little Rob, she takes after her father in looks, with sandy brown curls and sea green eyes. But she has Sangza's nose, smile and rosy cheeks, according to Theon. They name her Rosala, in tribute to Roslyn, Sangza's dearest friend and sister. Rob and Roslyn come to visit, bringing their own small brood with them. The four of them sit outside, Roslyn holding her newest niece in her arms, as they watch their children run and play about. It's just like old times, isn't it, Robbie? Sangza asks, smiling happily as she watches her and Rob's sons spar with wooden swords. Yes, it is, Rob agrees. They had planned to stop at 5, content with their perfect little family, but 2 moons after Theon was summoned to the Iron Islands by his sister to aid her in taking down their uncle Euron and his forces, Sangza finds herself expecting again. She's thrilled. It was the first time Theon had been away from her for more than a few months since before they were married, and she missed him terribly. But now she got to carry a piece of Theon with her at all times, so she was happy again. When Theon returned from Pike, he was greeted by his 5 children and his wife, carrying a 4-month-old baby girl with golden red hair and blue eyes. Another? He asks Sangza excitedly, as he pulls her and the baby into an embrace. Yes. Sangza tells him happily. Meet our youngest daughter, Thea. Theon takes Thea in his arms and smiles down at her. She's perfect, he says, leaning in to kiss Sangza. You all are. Hurry up, children, Sangza calls out down the hall, shifting Thea in her arms. We need to head out to the wheelhouse. If we don't leave soon, we won't make it in time for Teddy's name-a-day. Katniss comes walking out of the nursery, leading Asher and Rosala by the hand. At 12 years old, Katniss is every bit as much the little lady her mother had been at her age. The perfect example of grace, poise, and beauty. We're ready, she tells her mother. And where are your other brothers? Sangza asks skeptically. They were running around earlier with the direwolves, but I think I heard father call for them to help outside. Very well, Sangza sighs. Let's head out, shall we? Sangza grabs Asher's hand and leads the way, with Katniss and Rosala trailing behind her. They just make it out the door when Brandon runs right in front of them, nearly crashing into Rosala and knocking her over. Look out, Ella, he yells. Rob comes chasing after him and succeeds in knocking his little sister to the ground. The little girl begins to cry. Sorry, Elle, Rob says. He stops and picks her up off the ground. I'll carry you to the wheelhouse, how's that? Sangza smiles at her son, very much the loving older brother her own brother is. You can't carry her, she's 5 years old, that's old enough to walk. Katniss says matter-of-factly. Rosala, who had previously calmed down, began to cry again. It's all right, Kat, he can carry her. That was nice of you, Rob, now hurry along. Rob and Rosala smile, before he carries her over to the wheelhouse, Asher trailing behind them. He spoils her, Katniss tells her. He and father both do. Your father spoils all of you. And Rob is just being sweet. You like it when he's nice to you, yes. I suppose it's nice that he always carries my things for me, when father's not there to do it. Katniss admits. Exactly. Now here, take Thea to the wheelhouse, Sansa says as she hands Thea over. I'm going to go round up Bran and check on your father. Katniss nods and walks off towards the direction of her other siblings. Brandon Greyjoy. Sansa yells. Stop running around and come here. She doesn't see him anywhere near, and so she walks over to where Theon stands, as he finishes saddling up 2 horses. There are 2 wolves laying down at his feet. Sansa stoops and pets them both on the head. You haven't seen that son of yours, have you? Theon chuckles. I sent him inside to my quiver for me, princess. I left it by the door. He walks over to Sansa and kisses her sweetly. He'll be back out in a minute. Sansa hugs her husband's side. Send him to the wheelhouse when he's back, please. What's the 2 horses for? They were riding to Winterfell for Robb and Roslyn's son's name day. They were only going to be gone for 2 weeks, and so they only planned to take 24 men on horses, and a wheelhouse for Sansa and the kids, with Theon riding on horseback beside them. I told Robb and Bran they could take turns riding with me. I told Kat she could as well, but apparently that's not very ladylike. Sansa hums in agreement. I suppose it isn't, but maybe ask again later. She'll feel like she's missing out once she sees the boys. Will do. Theon smiles. Let me know if the kids get too much for you and I can always ride in the wheelhouse if you need. Sansa smiles gratefully at her husband. She leans forward and kisses him contentedly. How did I possibly get so lucky with a husband? She asks, half joking, half serious. One of the world's greatest mysteries, I suppose, Theon jokes back. Sansa walks back to the wheelhouse and takes a seat beside Robb. Asha, Rosala, and Katniss sitting across from them, with Thea in Kat's lap. Kat, be a dear and hand me your baby sister. And Robb, you can go out and ride with your father. Robb cheers happily, and Sansa ruffles his curls, before he scurries out of the carriage. Send Bran in when you see him. Sansa calls after Robb. Yes, mother. Robb calls back. A minute later, Bran begrudgingly climbs into the carriage and sits beside Sansa, a pout in his lips. Whatever is the matter, my dear? Sansa asks. Father says Robb gets to ride first, not me. Bran complains. Robb did ask father first, Katniss says, barely looking up from her embroidery. You'll get your turn later today. Until then, you can come sit by Ella and me and look at our stitches. That's even worse than just sitting here. Bran whines. Sansa laughs lightly. Open the window, Bran, she tells him. You can look out and watch. It will be pretty scenery on the way, and before you know it, it will be your turn. Okay, he says, opening the window and doing just that. They ride for half a day, before stopping and switching so Bran gets his turn. Theon ends up taking Thea and letting her ride with him, while Bran and Asha ride the other horse. Sansa, Robb, Ella, and Kat all sit inside the wheelhouse. The 3 girls work on embroidery for their dresses, while Robb whittles flowers for his sisters, a Katniss for Katniss, a rose for Rosala, and a camellia for Thea. 3 days later they arrive in Winterfell, where Sansa's family is there to greet them. Robbie. Sansa calls out when she sees him. Forgetting all her manners, Sansa practically jumps out of the wheelhouse and runs to her brother's arms. It's been too long, she says, embracing him. Even though it had only been about half a year. One of the best things about being only a 3 days ride from Winterfell was that she got to see her brother quite often. They made it a point to visit each other at least twice a year, be it his family came to the Dread Fort, or hers to Winterfell. She tried to see her other siblings, Jon and Asha, just as much, but of course, she never did. Jon had been in the south for quite some time. And Asha was always busy in the Iron Islands. Being royalty did not leave much time to be idle. But Jon was bringing his family down for the Name Day as well, planning to be here in another few days' time. And Asha had written to Sansa and Theon, asking if her nieces and nephews might visit. Asha still hadn't married, and Sansa figured that she would want to name Bran or Asha her heir. Theon was worried Pike would be too rowdy for the girls, but promised Asha he would bring the boys down for the entirety of the coming summer. Sansa was not looking forward to being away from her husband so long, but she was happy to see how excited her boys were. And it would be good for Theon to visit too, both his sister and his homeland. Plus she had promised the girls that they would have a blast, doing all sorts of girly things they never got to do with the boys' home. They'd have a slumber party every night, do each other's hair, read, sew, garden, and go riding anywhere that wasn't the woods, where the boys seemed to prefer. "Hey Song," Rob says, hugging his sister back. "Uncle Rob." Asher yells, as he and Bran run and tackle him. "Hi boys." Rob says happily. He lifts Asher up and throws him in the air. Roslyn walks over and takes Sansa's arm. He misses when the boys were that little, she tells her, motioning over to her sons, who are helping Theon and little Rob unload the wheelhouse. "I can't believe how big they've gotten," Sansa says. "They both must be a foot taller than I saw them last." Roslyn laughs. "Aunt Roslyn!" Cat exclaims. She walks over and hands Thea to Sansa, before giving her aunt a hug. My, what a little lady you are, Kitty." Roslyn tells her, smiling down at her niece. Roslyn is the only one who calls Cat Kitty, and she's the only one Cat lets her call her that. "And look at Thea." Sansa passes Thea to Roslyn, who cuddles the toddler happily. "I miss having a baby this little. It makes me want another." "Now Sang, don't go and give my wife any ideas," Rob says, as he walks by and kisses his wife's cheek. "The last pregnancy was hard enough. It wasn't that bad," Roslyn argues lightly. "I'd do it again." Theon and the boys walk over to them all, as well as Rosala and the other girls, and the group of them all walk into the castle. The pack of direwolves all trailing behind them, happy to be reunited with each other. "Where's Uncle Rickon?" little Rob asks. "Probably in the kitchen sneaking food," Rob says. "He's coming home with us, right?" Katniss asks, linking arms with her mother. "Yes dear, he's staying till the end of the year," Sansa says. Ever since Rickon was 13, he had been traveling back and forth between Winterfell and the Dread Fort for months at a time. He was 21 now, and wanted nothing more than to go south with Jon, as he had for years. Sansa selfishly hadn't let him. She had lost too many siblings already, and didn't want to lose another. Even if he technically wouldn't be gone. She sensed Rob had felt the same, because when Rickon was 15 Rob appointed him to his Kingsguard, as Roslyn's sworn protector. A Kingsguard was a southern tradition, but Rob had adopted it for practicality reasons. It was good to have a group of people he could truly trust. Daisy and Lyanna Mormont, as well as 3 of Roslyn's younger brothers, Wally, Desmond, and Miles, were on the Kingsguard as well. "He's talked of wanting to go south with Jon again," Rob informs his sister quietly. "I worry with Jon coming here that Rick might actually be able to go." Sansa sighs. "It's his decision. He's a man now, we can't keep him in the north forever. In any case, he's in Winterfell now and the Dread Fort for the rest of the year. So we don't have to worry just yet." "Unfortunately I think you're right." "I'm always right, just ask Theon," Sansa jokes. Rob and Sansa laugh, and despite everyone else not hearing the joke, they all begin to laugh as well, as happy as can be. Chapter 2, Direwolves of the Dread Fort. Notes. In my Jon /OC story, Dear Jon, the Starks find some direwolves when they go to the wall. This is just a little snippet continuation of that, with Theon bringing the direwolves back to Sansa. I hope everyone has a great day. See the end of the chapter for more notes. Chapter text. Theon reaches the gates of the Dread Fort late at night, and so he knows no one will be waiting for him and Rickon at the gates. The two of them untack the horses, and put them in the stables, before heading inside, each carrying a pup. Sansa is sitting right inside the Great Hall, waiting for them. "Theon. Rick. I was hop." Sansa stops when she sees what they are each carrying. Theon smiles at her and Rickon hands her the red puppy he's holding, before giving Sansa a hug. "I'm tired," he tells her. "So I'll see you in the morning. Is that all right?" "Of course, sweeterling," Sansa tells him. She kisses Rickon's cheek and then he and Shaggydoke head down the hall. "The children?" Theon asks. "Both asleep in the nursery. We can go check on them in a minute. Now, tell me where these little direwolves came from," she says excitedly, nuzzling the wolf pup to her chest. "We found them on our way back from the wall," Theon says. You won't believe this, but they're Nymaria's. She was with them. Grey Wind is the one who found her. There were 4 pups total and Rob has the other 2 as well as Nymaria back in Winterfell. And these 2 are ours. Sansa asks excitedly. Yes. 1 for you and 1 for me. Good. It's high time you had a direwolf of your own, and, while I know I can't replace her, I have been missing Lady. Theon smiles, and then hugs Sansa, realizing he had yet to do that. He kisses her, but then one of the wolves bark, and so they reluctantly pull apart. What did you name yours? Sansa asks. I haven't yet, Theon tells her. He offers her his arm and then begins to lead them to their chambers. I wanted to wait for you. Sansa smiles and kisses his cheek. How sweet. What did they name the other puppies? Kato and Rhaenyra. Sansa smiles at the names. They lay some blankets down in the corner of their room and lay the puppies to sleep, before heading to the nursery to check on Katniss and Rob. Theon kisses each of them, and then Sansa does as well, and they head back to their room, relieved to see that the puppies are still fast asleep in their corner. Theon and Sansa climb into bed, and after spending a little more time catching up, they go to sleep. When they wake in the morning, Theon is surprised to see Sansa snuggling the 2 direwolves against her, whispering to them sweetly. You'll spoil them, Theon tells her, amused. They're not supposed to sleep with us. But they are babies, Sansa says. Barely weaned from their mother. They need me to cuddle them. Theon laughs. They also need names. Have you thought of any? No. But perhaps we show the children. I'm sure Kat will have some suggestions. Theon smiles. He's aching to see his children again, now that they'll be awake. You wait here. I'll go get them. He rushes out of the room and to the nursery, opening the door quietly in case they are still asleep. He smiles when he sees Rob, standing up in his crib. Papa. The boy whispers excitedly when he sees them. Rob. Theon says, just as excited. He gets to the side of the crib, and lifts his son into his arms, hugging him tightly and kissing the boy's head. Papa. Katniss says tiredly, stirring in bed and rubbing her eyes open. Papa. She squeals, when she sees him. She jumps out of bed and into his arms, hugging him tightly. You were gone so long. I know, little cat, but I'm home now. Come, let's go to your mother, we have a surprise for you. Katniss cheers excitedly, riling Rob up as well. He carries them both back to his room, and both children burst with joy when they see the direwolf pups. Rob sits in Sansa's lap and cuddles the red wolf to him, while Katniss pets the other wolf from where he rests in Theon's arms, a little apprehensive to get too close. It's all right, Kat, Theon tells her. He won't bite you. Katniss reaches her hand out to pet him, and smiles at Theon when the wolf nuzzles into her hand. He looks like sand, Katniss says. Katniss had never been to the sea, but her Aunt Asha had brought her some sand and some seawater on her last visit, per Kat's request. Glass bottles, filled with sand, seawater, and seashells, all sat on shelves in the nursery. Yes, he does. Theon agrees. They end up naming the sand-colored wolf Sea Storm, because he reminds them all of the ocean. The red wolf, they name Rory. Sansa feels like once again everything is as it should be. She and her family are all healthy, the North is doing well in their independence, Westeros overall is experiencing the most peaceful time it has seen in a while. And she's happy. As happy as can be.